Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I have found something interesting, something creepy, and something not far from where I live. Now, I have lived in my state my entire life, and I have a pretty vast amount of knowledge of the area and its history, especially things and places that claim to be haunted. But this is one I have not heard of. So naturally, I was hooked and needed to know more, so I began to dig. The story of Peabody-Whitehead Mansion. So, to begin this story, I think it's best if we take a quick look at its history, if that's not what you're interested in, and just want the creepy factor. Timestamp and description to skip history. Let's meet William Riddick Whitehead, born December 15th, 1831, died October 13th, 1902, age 70. William Whitehead was a surgeon who, despite being considered successful in his day, had a vast majority of his patients die, either on the operating table or soon thereafter. Looking deep into William's history, you can clearly see this was a man dedicated to his professions. Some examples. In 1854 through 1855, he served as a surgeon in the Russian army and was knighted into the Imperial Order by the Russian Empire in recognition of his service. He was 23. And that is just a start. In 1860, he got his second MD degree in School of Medicine, Paris, France, and then practiced medicine in Suffolk and lived with his parents. Before the Civil War, William was the professor of clinical medicine, New York Medical College. He then entered the Confederate States Army as a surgeon, July the 4th, 1861, at the age of 29. He served as a surgeon for about 3 years. He was eventually captured in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, after being left in charge of the wounded on the 4th of July. August 12, 1863, he was a prisoner at Fort McHenry. He escaped 10 days later. The details are in a letter that Dr. Whitehead wrote on December 14th, 1863, requesting leave. After some leave, he continued to serve as a surgeon for the Confederates. He was eventually named president of the Confederate Army Board of Medical Examination. The same year, he married his cousin, of course. Her name was Elizabeth Flynn Benton. After the war, he practiced medicine in New York City until he eventually, in 1872, moved to Denver, Colorado, to try to recover his health after practicing medicine in New York. He lived in Colorado and continued to practice medicine. He was highly respected and was one of the founders of the Denver College of Medicine. He was the president of Colorado State Medical Society and the chairman of Department of Medicine and Surgery, University of Colorado Medical School, all before building his mansion in 1889. October 9th, 1902, he applied for a U.S. passport in Denver, Colorado to travel abroad. October 13th, 1902, died of heart disease at his home, Denver, Colorado. Dr. Whitehead was initially buried in Riverside Cemetery, Denver, Colorado. However, his body was moved to Fairmount Cemetery, Denver, Colorado on November 1st, 1904. And that brings us to our next guest. Let's meet James Hamilton Peabody. James was the youngest of 17 children. He was born in Thompson, Orange County, Vermont, where his family raised crops and children. He attended school in Vermont and later furthered his education there. At the Bryant Commercial College at Bury and Stratton Commercial College at Burlington, Vermont. 3 of his brothers fought for the Union in the American Civil War. In 1871, while James was still in business college there, his family moved to Pueblo, Colorado. After completing his degree the following year, Peabody followed his family and kept the books for the family dry goods store for 3 years. In early 1875, he moved to Canyon City, Colorado, and worked for James Cleland in his general mercantile store. On March 19, 1878, he married his employer's daughter, Frances Lillian Cleland, and the couple eventually had 4 children together: James, Cleland, Cora, May, and Jessie Ann. Peabody quickly climbed the ladder at Cleland's store, becoming a manager, then a full partner, and then purchasing the store outright in 1882. In 1885, he was elected county clerk for Fremont County, Colorado, unseating the incumbent who had held the post for 18 years. In 1889, while still serving in the position of county clerk, Peabody helped to organize the First National Bank of Canyon City and was elected president of the bank in 1891. He also served Canyon City as city treasurer for 2 years and as alderman for 2 years. He helped organize the Canyon City Waterworks Company and served as its secretary and treasurer for many years. He was instrumental in forming the Electric Light Company of Canyon City. He served as that organization's first president. In addition, he was a member of the Masonic fraternity. And in 1885, at the age of 32, he was appointed Grand Master Masonic of Colorado Masons. At the time, he was the youngest Grand Master Mason in America. Because of his contributions to Canyon City, Fremont County, and the state of Colorado at large, he became widely known in state politics, and he was an active member of the Colorado Republican Party. In 1902, he was the Republican candidate for governor of Colorado. He ran on a law and order platform and was elected, but his administration was met with numerous difficulties, especially labor issues in Colorado's many mines. While the Federation worked to expel all non-union miners from the country, mine owners refused to negotiate over the Federation's complaints, and the struggle degenerated into violence by both parties. While the mine owners tried desperately to import non-union miners from elsewhere in the state, the Union used its clout to barricade roads and rail lines into Cripple Creek. The owners appealed to Peabody, who dispatched an investigatory committee from Denver to look into the situation. On the committee's recommendation, Peabody ordered the state militia to defuse the situation. On September 4th, 1903, almost 1,000 militiamen entered Teller County and essentially established martial law. On June 6, 1904, after 9 months of the strike, someone destroyed the Independence Railway station near Victor, Colorado, with dynamite, killing 13 non-union miners. County Sheriff Henry Robertson became the target of Cripple Creek Mine Owners Associations and their ally, the Citizens Alliance, and was forced to resign under threat of hanging. The mine owners used force to take over the press of the Victor Record, which had been largely pro-union periodically and captured strikers who were confined in infamous bullpens or taken under guard to the Kansas border and abandoned. The Colorado National Guard made several dozen unwarranted arrests of miners and their supporters and held many people without formal charges, some for several days. Colorado National Guard Adjutant General Sherman Bell said of the miners, "Habeas corpus hell, we'll give 'em postmortems." With the support of the state militia, the owners regained control of the mines, and by midsummer, the strike was broken, although it was never officially terminated by the Federation, and the mines reopened with non-union labor. And the labor unions lost significant power in Cripple Creek and in the state. A union member named Harry Orchard later wrote in a confession to Pinkerton agent James McParland that he had committed the attack at the Independence Station. He also admitted to serving as a paid informant for the Mine Owners Association and to committing numerous other crimes. Orchard's confession to McParland claimed responsibility for 17 or more murders. Peabody's role in helping mine owners crush the strike at Cripple Creek and ultimately the union itself is particularly ugly. The miners had conducted a non-violent strike 9 years earlier, and their policy was one of non-violence. But when Peabody, a banker, was elected governor of Colorado, Cripple Creek mine owners felt they had an ally, and they could provoke the miners with impunity. The mine owners cut back hard-earned benefits, and it was those cutbacks that caused the strike of 1903 to 1904. In response to the strike, Peabody sent in the Colorado National Guard, which broke into miners' homes, harassed their wives and children, and forcefully deported Union men out of Cripple Creek. Peabody's militia arrested and jailed miners against whom there were no charges, often removing them from their homes. When judicial authorities objected to this illegal treatment, Peabody tried to suspend the writ of habeas corpus that was being used to protect illegally arrested miners. When miners resisted military violence, Peabody responded with martial law. His troops destroyed the offices of the press and assumed military command of Cripple Creek until both the strike and the union had been destroyed. After his quote-unquote victory and then resignation, Peabody returned to Canyon City and retired to private life at the Peabody Mansion. Built by his father-in-law and employer, James Cleland. There he devoted his time to caring for his various financial interests. He largely faded from the public eye and died November 23, 1917. He is buried in Canyon City. The Peabody Mansion, Canyon City, Colorado. Now for the creepy parts. The good doctor, or Dr. Whitehead, and his home were said to have been haunted by his past, with he himself claiming to see apparitions of those he could not save. Whitehead fell ill and died shortly after in the mansion in 1902. This was written in the first article I found, along with some questions which I have added a few to. Did he ever find peace? Where do you think he was planning on going with his passport? Do you think he knew he was about to die and join the undead that haunted him? Or does he remain in the home among those he could not save? Comment below what you think about Dr. Whitehead. The first article I found goes on. A year after Whitehead's death, then the governor of James Peabody rented out the mansion for 2 years. To say his tenure was turbulent would be an understatement. Declaring martial law on striking miners, he made many a powerful enemy and left him with the blood on his hands. While the mansion remained relatively quiet during his tenure, Peabody's life did not. There were 2 unsuccessful attempts to assassinate him, including a planted bomb on the curb near the home, and a planned shooting by Harry Orchard, a suspected henchman for the Western Federation of Miners, who had left many dead in his wake. I then went to the library and found a book mentioned in the article. I would like to read a section from The Ghost from Denver, Capitol Hill by Phil Goodstein. Eloise, or Ella, was a ghost haunting the 2nd floor. She was an alluring, love-struck young woman whose groom had abandoned her shortly before they were to be wed in the house. One story claims that, heartbroken, she pinned away and died. Another, that she hanged herself. Her ghost hopefully waits in the house, expecting her lover's return. Some reported seeing her hovering in the mirrors. A few men insisted that this woman would sometimes be present in their restroom. On occasion, Eloise got jealous, causing problems for waitresses who were flirting with the men she liked. One time, when some patrons were mocking her, claiming that there were no ghosts in the house, suddenly their table leaped 8 inches from the floor as the waiter was placing the meals upon it. A poltergeist was said to be responsible for playing with the chandelier and ringing the bells. Either it or another ghost, that of a crotchety old man, haunted the 3rd floor. As long as the latter was left alone, he would leave others alone. But when his room was occupied by a restaurant as storage area, he responded by cracking open wine bottles and tipping over trays. Finally, wicked spirits were said to haunt the basement, where there had once allegedly been a series of rapes, murders, and suicides. Exorcists attempted to sweep the mansion of ghosts. Elise was allowed to stay, as was the old man. The psychics concentrated on the demons in the basement. Despite their efforts, one day a woman went into the ladies' room only to see the corpse of a man dangling over the commode. These were the couple photos from the book. This is my conclusion. Given there is so much evidence over the years and so many compelling stories, it is hard to argue that the Peabody-Whitehead mansion is not haunted. One can only speculate. There has been a group of investigators that went there and recorded back in 2013. I'll put a link in the description. The Ghosts of Denver, Capitol Hill. That's an awesome book. I recommend it. I'm working on getting my own copy. Not a lot has happened at the property since, other than the creepy fence and signs being added. I'm currently working on finding the owner to see if we can or cannot get access. We plan on taking a trip there and investigating and hitting a few other locations. I could use your help. How? Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Also, check out my Patreon. There you can find additional ways to support this channel. Thanks for watching.